2 Baruch is a Jewish pseudepigraphical text thought to have been written in the late 1st century AD or early 2nd century AD, after the destruction of the Temple in AD 70. It is attributed to the biblical Baruch and so is associated with the Old Testament, but not regarded as scripture by Jews or by most Christian groups. It is included in some editions of the Peshitta, and is part of the Bible in the Syriac Orthodox tradition. It has 87 sections. 2 Baruch is also known as the Syriac Apocalypse of Burak. The Apocalypse proper occupies the first 77 chapters of the book. Chapters 78 to 87 are usually referred to as the letter of Baruch to the 9.5 tribes. Manuscript tradition. The letter of Baruch had a separate and wider circulation than the rest of the book, and is attested in 36 Syriac manuscripts. The Apocalypse proper has been less widely available. One Latin excerpt was known from a quotation in Cyprian. A 4th–5th century AD Greek fragment was found among the Oxyrhynchus manuscripts. 2 excerpts were known from 13th century lectionaries of the Syriac Orthodox Church. The full text of 2 Baruch is now known from a 6th or 7th century AD Syriac manuscript discovered by Antonio Siriani in the Bibliotheca Ambrosiana in Milan in 1866. An Arabic manuscript of the whole text was discovered in 1974. It is apparently a rather free translation from a Syriac text similar to the Milan manuscript. Description. Although the canonical book of Jeremiah portrays Baruch as Jeremiah's scribe, 2 Baruch portrays him as a prophet in his own right. It has a similar style to the writings attributed to Jeremiah, a mix of prayer, lamentation, and visions. Although Baruch writes of Nebuchadnezzar's sack of Jerusalem in 586 BC, it is currently believed as having been written in reaction to the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, but before 135 AD. The Syriac is almost certainly a translation from the Greek. The original was probably written in Hebrew. There is a close relation between this apocalypse and that of 2 Esdras, but critics are divided over the question, which has influenced the other. The probabilities favor the hypothesis that the 2 Baruch is an imitation of that of Esdras and therefore later. This apocalypse of Baruch deals in part with the same problems, the sufferings of the theocratic people, and their ultimate triumph over their oppressors. Its messianism in general is earthly, but in the latter part of the book the Messiah's realm tends unmistakably towards a more spiritual conception. Greater importance is attached to the law than in the related composition. Some scholars of 2 Baruch have seen in it a composite work, but the majority of critics consider it a unity. As in 2 Esdras, sin is traced to the disobedience of Adam, but different stances are taken about the heredity of Adam's sin. While 2 Esdras supports the heredity, 2 Baruch has a quite different position. Each of us has been the Adam of his own soul. The first part of the text is structured in triplets. 3 fasts each followed by 3 visions and 3 addresses to the people. The visions are notable for their discussion of theodicy, the problem of evil, and an emphasis on predestination. According to the text, the temple's sacred objects were rescued from destruction under the protection angels to be returned during the restoration prophesied in the book of Jeremiah. The second part of the text is a long letter, which many scholars believe was originally a separate document. Content. The Syriac Apocalypse of Baruch chapters 1 to 5. God reveals to Baruch the imminent destruction of Jerusalem, and asks him leave the city along with all other pious persons. Baruch cannot understand how the name of Israel can be remembered and the promises made to Moses can come true if the temple is in ruins. God explains that such earthly building is not the one he showed to Adam before the fall and to Moses on Mount Sinai, and assures Baruch that Israel's woes will not be permanent. Then Baruch, Jeremiah, and all other pious ones go to the Kidron Valley, where they sorrow and fast. Chapters 6-8. On the following day the Chaldeans surround the city, and Baruch is carried up miraculously to the walls of Jerusalem, and he sees 4 angels with torches firing the walls, but not before another angel has consigned the sacred vessels of the temple to the earth, which swallows them up till the latter days. Chapters 9-12. 7 days after the capture of Jerusalem, Burak again receives a revelation. He is told that Jeremiah should go with the captives to Babylon, but that he himself must remain at the ruins of Jerusalem, where God will reveal to him what shall happen at the end of days. Then Baruch sings a dirge on the destruction of Jerusalem. Chapters 13-20. After fasting 7 days, Baruch receives a revelation concerning the future punishment of the heathen and of all godless persons. He replies to the Lord complaining about the sad fate of the men. God answers that the man was instructed in the law and that now the time shall be sped up, referring to the end of days soon to come. Chapters 21-30. After another 7-day fast and long prayers, the heavens open and Baruch hears a heavenly voice. First he is blamed for the doubt, and the Lord explains that, because when Adam sinned and death was decreed against those who should be born, then the multitude of those who should be born was numbered, and for that number a place was prepared where the living might dwell and the dead might be guarded. And so the future time will come only when the earth shall have brought forth all her fruit. Baruch demands when this time will arrive, and the Lord gives a first description of the future time, explaining the 12 divisions of the time of oppression, and foretelling the messianic era of joy and the resurrection of the dead. Chapters 31-34. Baruch assembles the elders of the people and tells them that Zion will soon be restored, but destroyed once again, then to be rebuilt for all eternity. Chapters 35-40. Baruch, while sitting in the ruins of the temple lamenting, receives a new revelation in the form of the following vision. In his sleep he sees a wood surrounded by rocks and crags, and, opposite the wood, a growing vine, beneath which flows a spring. The spring runs quietly as far as the wood, where it waxes to a mighty stream, overwhelming the wood and leaving only one cedar standing. This cedar, too, is finally swept away and carried to the vine. God explains the meaning of the vision to Baruch. The wood is the mighty fourth power, the spring is the dominion of the Messiah, and the vine is the Messiah himself, who will destroy the last hostile ruler on Mount Zion. Chapters 42-46. Baruch is explained about the fate of converts and apostates, and is directed to warn the people and to prepare himself for another revelation. He predicts to his son and to other 7 elders his own death, and foretells that shall not be wanting to Israel a wise man nor a son of the law. Chapters 47-52. This central part of the apocalypse begins with the great prayer of Baruch, full of humility in front of the majesty of God, and God reveals him the oppressions in the latter days, the resurrection, the final destiny of the righteous, and the fate of the godless. Thus Baruch understands not to grieve for who die, but to joy for the present sufferance. Chapters 53-74. A second prophetic vision follows, whose meaning is explained by the angel Ramiel. A cloud which arises from the sea rains down 12 times alternately dark and bright waters. This indicates the course of events from Adam to the Messiah. The 6 dark waters are the dominion of the godless, Adam, ancient Egypt, Canaan, Jeroboam, Manasseh, and the Chaldeans. The 6 bright waters are Abraham, Moses, David, Hezekiah, Josiah, and the time of the Second Temple. After these 12 waters comes another water still darker than the others and shot with fire, carrying annihilation in its train. A clear flash puts an end to the fearful tempest. The dark cloud is the period between the time of the Second Temple and the advent of the Messiah, which latter event determines the dominion of the wicked, and inaugurates the era of eternal bliss. Chapters 75-77. After Baruch has thanked God for the secrets revealed to him, God asks him to warn the people, and keep himself in readiness for his translation to heaven, since God intends to keep him there until the consummation of the times. Baruch admonishes the people and, besides, writes 2 letters, one to the 9½ tribes, the other to the 2½ tribes exiled in Babylon. The letter of Baruch, chapters 78 to 87. The main themes of this letter are the hope for a future reward after the present sufferance, the speed up of the times, the constancy of Moses' covenant, and the freedom of man to follow God.